Okay. So I've never done like an AMA if you're hip and cool like I used to be 5 years ago when I was on Reddit. It's been Ask Me Anything, and so anything's fair game. And I think if you look in the announcements in the app tonight, that's a picture of me in 2005 when I was trying to woo my then wife. That was the last day of school freshman year, and I was the heaviest I've ever been. That was 215 pounds. So at that point, I had already lost weight and then gained oh man, I gained 35 pounds over about 16 months. It's the heaviest I've ever been. And so then I lost weight again, and then I gained weight again, and I've lost it and kept it off, and now we gain weight if I want to. But I share that picture to go like, it's easy to look at me and go like, oh, it's always been easy for Chuck. He tried to figure it out. Not true. But also, I think it's. I want to give other people the opportunity to talk and share and just ask general questions because I think it can be hard to do in the group sometimes. It can be hard to message me at times, and I really just want to give a forum to where it's like, hey, what questions do you have? It doesn't have to be about fat loss. It can be about anything, health, wellness, whatever. And then I also, if we don't have questions pop up, I did get a few questions submitted. I'm going to answer first. If questions don't pop up, sorry. If you do have questions, drop them in the chat. And if questions don't pop up, I got Chelsea. I'm not sure where they're showing up on your screen, but I got Chelsea who is from Oklahoma, who's been with me for about a year and a half now. Briefly about her, she came to me to lose weight, and then she lost weight, hit her goal weight, and then I convinced her to put weight back on and bulk, which she did, and got really strong. And then now we're kind of in neutral mode for summer and go back down to kind of her goal weight. We got Amy, who's been with me for almost a year. It's almost our 1 year anniversary. And she's lost, I think, 22, 23 pounds and had a lot of success. We're getting ready for a wedding. And then we got Rebecca, who has only known me for like 12 weeks, 4 months, so we're like still in the dating phase. But she's had amazing success. And then I got Devin, who's been with me. He is one of my first clients of when I went to make this business full time, and he's been with me for almost 2 years now. So I wanted to give you a broad range of people that are new, in the middle, been with me for a while, and that you can ask questions about things. And if you don't have questions, I got some questions for that we're going to go over. So I did get 2 questions submitted, and so I'm going to make sure I answer those really quick, and then we'll dive into letting them talk. Share my screen. There we go. Let's move this over here. All right, so we're gonna skip right ahead. And actually, the picture I was talking about is right here, right? That's me. That's 215-pound Chuck. That is my wife. She doesn't look any different. I actually have a jawline now. That's kind of nice. And then as you can see, like this is me 16 years later. Not quite as heavy, but put weight back on. So I think it's important to know where we came from. Okay. So I had 2 questions so far that were submitted. One was on post-workout. Okay, and so what they're talking about post workouts, they were taking. First Form has a post workout stack called Ignition in Formula One. In my opinion, everyone should be taking Formula One or a type of whey protein isolate after we work out because it's going to help you recover. A whey protein isolate is a protein that's broken down, so when you take it, it's not one meant to like fill your stomach, but get to your muscles as soon as possible to help you recover. Ideally, we're getting 20 to 30 grams of protein after resistance training or intense workout to help our muscles recover. Okay, and that's putting us in the prime state to keep that muscle as we recover. Okay, what the post-workout stack has Ignition, which is a very quick digesting carb, because when your body uses up a lot of energy, when we use carbohydrates in our exercise and we break down muscle, your body has an order of operations. It wants to refuel first, and then it wants to repair. Okay, and so often if we're just taking a whey protein isolate in that setting, we're not optimizing our recovery. Okay, now we're kind of getting specific here. Does that mean I will never recovery or never put on muscle? No, as long as we're hitting our protein goal, that's number one, right? Whey protein isolate will help. So the question was, when do I take a quick digesting carb or add carbs in my post-workout recovery, and when do I just take the protein? And so here is a picture on the left here, or these are some workouts I've had in the last week. Okay, this is I use MyZone to track my heart rate. And I want to be clear, guys, when we work out and burn calories, it's we want to pay attention to what heart rate we're in here, right? So here on this one, for example, it says I burned 254 calories. Anything here in the gray or dark gray, I would have burned normally, right? That's like walking around, that's not doing much. It's when does my heart rate come up? Okay. So blue is about 60 to 70% of my heart rate max. Green is 70 to 80% of my heart rate max. Yellow is 80% or above. I want you to think about it this way. These are rough numbers. I'm not giving you exact scientific numbers here. Okay. When I am in 80% or above my heart rate max for most of my workout, like over here, I was in green or yellow, high green or yellow for 21 minutes. My body is primarily using carbohydrates as fuel. All right, so that is a situation where it's like, okay, I probably want to get some sort of quick digesting carbohydrate with my protein because I want to make sure I refuel that muscle. And so then it focuses on repairing because your body thinks long-term survival. It does not know you just worked out for 20 minutes. It thinks you were in a fight for 20 minutes. It doesn't know if you're going to fight again. We need to give the body what it needs so it calms down, gets the recovery. Okay, so this would be take a carb, take a quick protein. Over here, like these settings, I'm probably just taking protein, right? A little bit of green, a little bit of blue, not really burning a ton of calories, not really getting the heart rate up. Like maybe here on this bottom one where I got a little bit more green. Is it green? Yes, can't quite always tell with my glasses. Like I would probably maybe have a little bit. But this has been a big change for me. Like this is where I'm still learning. Guys, for 4 years, I would always take Ignition and Formula One plus workout. It's not a bad thing. It's not going to hurt you. It just means you get to eat fewer carbs later. For the last 2 or 3 months, as I've been able to advance my knowledge of workouts and how the body works, I've started to toy with this a little bit. And so now, like most days, even with CrossFit, like I use my heart rate monitor not for how many calories I burn, but more so for data. How can I best recover? Right. So right now, what's your main takeaway from this? If we're not using a whey protein isolate after we're working out and we're super sore after we work out, there's an opportunity there to improve recovery, which will improve results. So I talked to me about a whey protein isolate. If we're only taking a whey protein isolate, but we're still super sore after our workouts and feel like we're not seeing the results from our workouts, talk to me, and then we can talk about adding a quick digesting carb. Okay. Second question was, when do I take my supplements, Chuck? Is there a specific time or do I just need to take them? Here's your hierarchy of supplements. 1, take them every day. Like the best time is when you're to remember to take them every day. That's number 1. 2, follow directions on the bottle. Okay. But specifically, if we're taking a multivitamin or if we're taking something like full mega or an omega-3, take it with food. Okay. A lot of vitamins need fats and foods to digest and get absorbed into the body. Okay, so if you need my talk on gut health from a couple of weeks ago, let me know, message me, and I'll give that to you. So if we're just popping vitamins or omega-3s and not eating food, first of all, we might not feel very good. That's a lot of influx of nutrients at once on an empty stomach. 2, our body might not be absorbing it. Okay, so when it comes to vitamins and minerals and when it comes to omega-3s, I always recommend take it with food, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whatever's easiest for you. If you normally take it at breakfast but forget one day and take it at lunch or dinner that day, it's not going to wreck you. Like we're just getting it in, that's good. When it comes to Opti Greens, Opti Reds, this is my preference, and maybe this is just, there is some science to this from a really smart dude that explained it to me, but I don't remember it. At the end of the day, take it when you're going to take it. Take your probiotic when you're going to take it, right? But for me, I take my greens at the very end of the day. Like after this call, I'm going to take my greens at the very end of the day because I just like this idea of I've eaten my food. Here comes the enzymes. Here comes the probiotics to kind of do their things. It's about 2 hours before I go to bed, and it's like the last thing I do. All right, and that's the way I've been doing it for a long time, and it's worked really well for me, and that's part of my routine. I also have clients that take it in the morning, and they lose weight and are healthy and fine too. So ultimately, take it when you remember it. Take your multivitamins and omega-3s with food. Take your Opti Greens, Opti Reds. I like them at the end of the day after eating all of my food, but you can take them whenever. Okay. Any other questions? I saw a question drop in the chat here quick. I have to figure out how to meet my protein calories, but I've struggled to meet all 4 macros daily. I wonder if you had any suggestions to meet the carbs and fats with protein calories. Yes, we'll answer that question, Jennifer. We will get to that because I'm going to let these ladies and fine gentlemen start talking here. So, okay. So I got a list of questions. They're going to start sharing. And I'll just say, we'll go with, I'm going to have Devin go first here. I'll kind of call on here and we'll kind of go through here. So first question is going to be we'll go like brief here, like 30 seconds to a minute. introduce yourself, and I want to know like what brought you to Team FOS. Like, what was your oh crap moment? I need a coach. I can't do this on my own, right? Or maybe it was an oh crap moment. Maybe it was just like a okay, I need some help with this. Like, let's go. Okay, so Devin, you're up first, buddy. Go for it.
Well, I'm glad Chuck you said gave me 30 seconds because I'm a teacher and I can be really long-winded. So got to sort of make sure that I'm saying all that I need to in a short amount of time. Thing that just brought me to Team FOS was actually one of the reasons just came over. 100% my family. At about April of 2022, I was about 415 pounds. Well, we think we'll talk about that a little bit later, but just wanted to make sure that I'm around for my family and make sure that I stay healthy for them. So
100%.
that's my why.
How much weight going off that 415? So about 2 years, we've lost about 60, 70 pounds. According to what we know,
335.
we'll share
Yeah,
the story later.
yeah.
Yeah. So to our knowledge, we've lost at least so 30,
That'd be 80.
65, 80 pounds.
Yeah.
We've lost 80 pounds in
Yep.
2 years. We think it's more. We'll share why in a little bit. Thanks for sharing, Devin. Thanks
Mhm.
for being here. Chelsea, you're up, girl. What brought you to Team FOS and what was your okay, I need to coach moment?
I'm Chelsea. Nice to meet you, everyone. Mine was a friend of mine had started working with you, and she and I are both fitness instructors. And I just saw the amazing results that she was having. I was on a weight loss journey. I kind of knew a little bit about macros, but nothing that what I know now. And I had just some extra weight that I wanted to lose, but I also was seeing the results that she was getting. I mean, she was creating muscle, she was getting toned. It wasn't just that she was losing weight. And she just encouraged me. She was like, "It's been great. I love it." And so here I am.
Cool. So you'd say weight loss. You'd already lost a lot of weight before working with me, but
Yeah.
you had kind of gotten stuck. But it was
Yep.
primarily you wanted to change how you look. It's like if I
Yeah.
put words in your mouth, correct me. But being a fitness instructor, you're like, okay, I'm working out, I'm losing weight, but like I'm not quite
You
looking the
don't
way I
look
want
like
to
it.
look. Like
Yeah.
what I need to do here. Cool.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. Amy, you're up next.
Anytime.
Gotta unmute. There it
Hi.
is.
I know. Technology and I don't get along today. Hi, I'm Amy. I am from Oregon. I've never met Chuck, but I did go to a gym that Chuck was very much involved with, and I was tired of yo-yo dieting, and I saw one of the coaches there, and she gave me Chuck's number, and the rest is history. I never really fallen off the wagon before during this progress, but I quit many times before. So my why was I needed to lose weight for the last time. And this is how I ended up with Chuck.
Yeah, and you haven't quit. Really proud of you. Really, really
Thanks.
proud of you. And we got a wedding coming up. 15 months.
15 months.
All right. And rounding out the West Coast, we got Rebecca up in Alaska, who is the newbie,
Newbie, yeah. All right. Good thing you went with Amy first because a huge jet just went by. So I am Becky, and yep, from Alaska here. My husband is a pastor here. That's what brought us up here. We've been here 14 years. Actually went to college with Chuck, but my friend, similar to Chelsea's story, my friend was working with Chuck, and she was always big in just health and fitness, and I've watched her for years. And I just with the busyness of kids and life and all kinds of I homeschool my kids and teach piano and the busyness, I was starting to just not take care of myself like I wanted. Didn't have tons and tons of weight to lose, but definitely was starting to feel very sluggish and lack of energy because I was not putting in good things. I have a sweet tooth and I am a night owl. So night snacking and those things were really hard for me to break. And I had tried other things like just quitting sweets altogether. And I was never successful by just trying to get rid of one thing altogether. And I never followed through. Like I said, I've only been with Chuck for 4 months, but I've never held to something that long in my life. So was grateful for just it's easy. After it's not easy at the beginning, it gets easier. Like I'm the newbie, but I have so much yet to learn. But what I've learned in 4 months has been life changing for me. The things that I can now go out and do crazy stuff with my kids and not worry about falling and hurting myself or being sore. Or, just lots of good has come from it in a short amount of time.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And I wanted to share, and just so you guys know, I always remind you, I will never share progress pics without permission, but I kind of wanted to share a little bit of Chelsea's journey here. So a couple of things. Here's Chelsea. So this is when she started. I won't share the weight. I like share numbers, but you can see this is where she started. And this was the leanest. And then, like I said, we went through a bulk where we purposely worked to gain weight, put on muscle. And then now we're right here. So here's a really cool picture. This is why, Chelsea, we talk about changing how we look and not just relying on the scale. This is May of last year. This is July of this year. She's the exact same weight on the scale in both pictures. Right. So when I tell you guys that the scale is one metric of progress, here is someone who's clearly put on muscle and is clearly leaner and has less fat, but the scale doesn't say that. All right. And then here is Rebecca, and this is her most recent progress pic with where she started. I thought I had a profile one, but I didn't. But I mean, I wish I would have had that. Let me see if I have it here quick. Easily. I don't think I can, but I would say you were someone, Rebecca, that was struggling with a little bit of inflammation and some gut health, and now you're just like flat stomach in the front and just good to go, but just got some abs popping through here. Really awesome, really exciting. So we had a question from Jennifer here. So let's kind of answer this question as I get to your next question here. So what were some early challenges you had to overcome when you first started out? So I want you to think maybe your first 4 to 8 weeks of your journey. Yeah, you got a guy who you've never met. And for those like Devin starting 2 years ago, like Team FOS was nothing what it is like today. There was maybe about 100 people in that group. I didn't have nearly as many resources. I was moving across the country. But I think the play, while it's been tweaked, it's still been the same, right? Track your food, hit calories and protein, and workout, move. So let's go in reverse order. We'll start with Rebecca this time. But what would you say, one or two things? What were some initial challenges that you had to overcome that were a struggle for you? Okay. And just focus on the struggle right now. Let's not talk about solutions. Just like, hey, you're like when this started off, like these one or two things were tough for me to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I had said, the nighttime snacking was hard. And probably along with that is the whole sleeping thing. Right now it's really hard because it is bright all the time. In winter it's a lot easier. But that staying up late was definitely a hard thing to adjust. I still struggle on and off with that, but just trying to figure out how to stop that craving for those sweets and those nighttime snacks. Also one of the biggest was the protein. I struggled in the first early weeks. I just couldn't figure out because I just never ate enough protein ever. And so that big drastic change to eat so much was a hard thing for me to comprehend and be like, should I really be doing this? Like I question, that seems like a lot. And now it just clicks and makes sense. But that was really hard getting my protein in. And then probably just adjusting my schedule. Everything was focused on serving others, and I still want to do that. But in order to do that well, I need to feel well and feel figuring out that schedule where I could still do those things but fit in time to walk and to plan and to pre-track that was another struggle for me at the beginning.
Sure. So just a quick recap there, people, and this is why we're doing this. So struggling to hit protein from the beginning, right? So I think, off of memory here, I think, Rebecca, you're getting maybe 60, 70 grams a day, and now you're getting like 120, 125 a day, right? So now you're hitting those numbers. But when you first started, it's like, man, I need to change how I'm eating. What's going on here? I think being okay, I tell you guys this, I tell myself this as well, but invest in yourself. Like you have to invest in yourself, so you invest in others. So being able to put yourself first, we have to be selfish to be selfless, and rearranging our schedule to do that. Parenting, I'm going to pick on Seth here. Do you hear that, Seth? Parenting ourselves and telling ourselves to go to bed. Love you, Seth. A consistent bedtime. Okay. Like, so if these are things that are like, okay, like, hey, congrats. If you're struggling with this, you're normal. It's okay. Thanks for sharing, Rebecca. Amy, let's go with you. What were some, a couple initial struggles when you kicked off?
There we go.
There we go.
I hated the scale. I
Mhm.
didn't know enough about macros, and that was never consistent. Those are my
Your
big
big three?
struggles.
Okay.
Mhm.
So for Amy, can you elaborate on the hate of the scale, which we still have a love-hate relationship with, and that's okay.
I was very honest with Chuck. He said he would be brutally honest, and I was brutally honestly back. I always think the scale needed to go back down for success, and that's not really true at all.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to step on it, but he's like, "You're stepping on it," so I stepped on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I would say what's been really cool is I won't share numbers, but you just got back from vacation and you were like, oh, that happened. Okay, here's why that happened. But I'll be good because it'll do this in a few days. And it's just like having that understanding that the scale is going to fluctuate a couple pounds based off of eating differently or staying up late. Like Devin's not getting a lot of sleep because he's got a newborn. You saw like his second youngest kid. He's got a brand new kid in there, right? So those things impact the scale, and being okay with that and realizing you didn't do anything wrong. Like that's just how the body's reacting. So no, thanks for sharing, Amy. Chelsea, you're up. Initial struggles, initial challenges.
I didn't really understand macros really well. I wasn't eating as much protein as I really needed in order to fuel my body. I was still under eating calorie wise. So, I mean, even though being an instructor, I was working out, things like that, I wasn't seeing a whole lot of change. And part of that was because I was under eating.
Do you mind sharing
And then
about how many calories you were eating when we started?
what it was like 1,300 calories.
It's 1,300 and
Yeah.
1,300 calories. And how many? And you can say no to this. You can always say no to the question because I don't want to make you. But do you mind sharing how many you're eating now to lose 15 pounds?
I think it's just a little under 1,900.
Yeah. So, I mean, just remember that, guys. And you got to understand every body is different. Like, everyone looks the same size on Zoom, but like different heights, different activity levels. But Chelsea was teaching 7 times a week. We were adding lifting and we increased calories by 500.
Yeah.
And then she started losing weight, and she didn't trust me. I mean, that's a hard thing to do. Like, who is this guy eight states away or like 5 states away telling me to eat more? Right. But no, she trusted me. And a reminder that we have to give your body movement, give your body resistance training, give your body rest, give your body nutrients, give your body food. Let's not withhold. Okay. So yeah. And thank you, Chelsea. Keep going.
Yeah, no, and just the weight training. I mean, I was moving a lot because I teach a lot of classes, but most of them were cardio based. I was not focusing on weight training at all. And so after tackling the nutrition part of that, adding in the weight training was a little intimidating for me. And so I remember the first time I ever benched the bar.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. It took me a while to get there.
And now your gym selfies are all over my timeline. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Devin, what about you, buddy, when you first started?
When I first started, biggest hurdle, 100% was nutrition all the way. I work, like I mentioned before, I work as a teacher, and I was driving down to Milwaukee, and it would be nothing to stop off at McDonald's and grab like a McChicken, double cheeseburgers, and probably smash between 4,500 to 5,000 calories a day. And now back down to 1,900 calories a day, and was able to just scale it back completely to be able to make sure, and the quality of food has been something that I at first struggled with big time as well. Now meal prep basically all my meals every single week to make sure that I combat the wanting to be able to eat out or going and grabbing a frozen pizza. So honestly, the nutrition was the hardest thing at first.
And I think what it's great about Devin, guys, is Devin's been with me for 2 years. We've lost 80 plus pounds. And Devin, would you say I'm kind of putting you on a spot here, but I'm going to end up in a good way with this. So trust me on this one. But have you always been perfectly linear going down on the scale, like been consistent every day the last 2 years on your nutrition, on your programming, everything?
Not one bit. No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Would you say that
But
this year has been, well, what were you about to say about what were you about
no,
to say?
I was going to say, but however, the second that I did get off my nutrition, like let's say we finished up a challenge and then we finished up the challenge 3 weeks, and I would revert back to what I had done before, the stress eating. And I know someone mentioned that before, and staying up late and I revert back to that. And I felt like garbage.
Mhm.
And then I would connect with you, Chuck, and you would say, yeah, you definitely did feel like garbage. I see what you've been eating. And so,
Yeah. I would say what's great about Devin, guys, is Devin's been doing this for 2 years. And, his progress has, like, he would lose, like he lost a lot of weight in the first challenge, and then he kind of tapered off, and then he lost some weight the next challenge. And then I would say you had about a 6 to 8 month stretch where we were talking and whatnot, but you weren't really quite getting into it. And then I would say it was
right.
last fall, like you got back into it. I don't know what happened, but you got back into it and you're like, man, I just feel so much better. And that was like a click. And I would say since last fall, you have been more consistent. And when I say consistent, I'm not talking about perfect. No one needs to be perfect. It's about just keep showing up. Like, let's quit quitting. Let's do what we can. 50% is better than 0%. And I would say this year you have made the most progress in your journey. And this goes into my next question. And I'm going to give out two more questions left because I know we're already at 7:30. But this is one of the questions I want to ask, and then I want to make sure we answer the question on macros. Is Devin, you're gonna go first here. What was the moment where you're like, this is stupid, I want to quit? And I think I know what story you want to share, Devin, but I don't want to make you share that story if that's the one if you have a different one.
I believe that was this past spring.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm
Yep.
just sure
Okay.
what happened.
All right. So this last spring, was getting ready in the morning, to go to work, and just step on the scale, see what's going on. And my weight registered, like I was getting jacked. We were down, the scale was saying like 300, and I'm
We were
like,
getting
all right,
close to
let's
300.
go.
Milestone,
That was the
guys.
big goal.
Think about
That's
this,
the
guys.
goal.
He
Get under
started at 380. We're about to get to 300 pounds. Like, that is what's going on here. Okay, that's the scenario.
And then my two sons, because I normally put the scale back up on the shelf and everything's all good. And my two sons come in, and he's a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. And my 7-year-old steps on, he's about 60 pounds, and it says he's about 30 pounds. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? All right. Then I put my 9-year-old on, and he's about 70. And it registered him at about 34 pounds. So all of a sudden, then I have the realization my scale is about 40 pounds off. And so that really rocked my world when it came to it, because I thought, all right, everything was excellent. Then I go and I get a new one that night, and nope, the realization set in that nope, dude, you're not 300. You're not 300. You're actually back up to about 345, 350. And so I messaged Chuck right away and shared it with him, and I was really disappointed, but sort of developed the mindset of, what, hey, it is what it is. I had made so much progress over the past 2 years, and there's no way that I was going to throw it away because of what that scale said. I want to make sure that I'm living a quality life to be able to be the best husband for my wife, the best father to my children. And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to give up until, my eventual goal is to hit that 220. And so I'm going to keep pursuing and keep pushing through it, so that way I can make it.
100%. And put yourself in that scenario, guys. Like, you've been working hard you think you're about to cross that 100-pound threshold, and in the span of a day, like you realize you're 25, 30 pounds heavier. Like what that would do to you mentally. That's tough. That's tough. And I'm thank you for sharing that, Devin, because I think we're all going to have our version of that at some point in our journey where we go, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? And this is where I talk about controlling what we can control, about just like there are things outside of our control. Devin can't control his scale is broken. And just because that scale said he was that number showed up doesn't mean he'd been doing anything wrong leading up to that. And so he chose to focus on what he controlled and he kept going. And now we're pushing down and we're getting back to where we were, where we thought we were. And we're on pace to get under 300 this year, which is still quite an achievement. So thanks for sharing, Devin. Awesome. Amy, what about you? What's your, this is stupid, I'm going to quit moment?
My one moment I wanted to quit is when Chuck lowered my calories, and I was legitimately feeling like I was starving, and I didn't understand why. Now I'm sitting, I am 5'1", and after we had talked about it, but I still wanted to throw in the towel. I was so mad at him, and it wasn't even anything he did. He was just helping me. And I didn't react how I should have, but I did want to quit at that time.
Yeah. And what I appreciate about Amy that time, because it's very vivid in my time, because guys, you got to understand, like, I'm always afraid I'm going to lose you guys. Like, sit in my perspective, I got 200 of my kids, and it's like, brief moment of vulnerability here. If you guys ever leave, just message me. Like, I got people I've invested months in that I just don't hear from all of a sudden, right? So there's always that fear of like, I want to do my job to help you, but I also don't want to piss you off, so you just leave, because then I'm not helping you. But in doing so, I got to walk this tightrope of like, I got to do what's right. And so, yeah, I mean, Amy's 5'1". I got a couple clients. You're not my shortest client, Amy, but I do have a couple like 4'11", 5 feet. And that's hard to look at, like, you know, Chelsea's throwing out, I get the 1,800 calories a day. And, you know, it's like, what? And then, you know, Amy's over here going, well, I get this number. It's like, well, everyone is different. And I think it's just understanding that. But that being said, like, you always got to communicate with me how we're feeling, what's going on, so I can talk you through. My goal is to always tell you why we're doing what we're doing. So if you never understand why we're doing what we're doing, talk to me. But also, you know, I'm going to try to make it as comfortable for you as possible, right? So, but no, I appreciate you sharing that, Amy. Thank you.
Welcome.
Chelsea, what about you? What was your, this is stupid, I'm going to quit moment?
I mean, I've had a lot of them, none of them that I think I've broken down and came to you about, but usually it would just always revolve around the scale's not moving, you know, I'm being consistent and putting in the work, you know, and it's just not moving in the direction that I want to, or not quickly enough. And it took me a while to realize again that the scale is just, it shouldn't be the tool by which we measure our progress. And yes, it's a tool. Yes, it tells us one thing. But you know, just I think you sharing pictures back of like, hey, yeah, we're the same weight in both these pictures, but look at this picture and look at this one. And you're just having that reminder, you know, that you're still headed in the right direction, even if it doesn't look the way that you think it should look.
Yeah. And I won't go into detail with Chelsea, but Chelsea's a unique situation where her body reacts to different things different ways. And there's a lot of times with Chelsea, especially with her being an instructor, we have to pull back on some things for overall health versus, you know, I think we want to work out, move. And sometimes we got to pull back and think of the big picture here. And so sometimes, like, if I'm telling you go to bed, or if I'm telling you don't work out this week, I think that's where we got to remember that this is a lifestyle, not a race. And, you know, unless we have an event coming up, like Amy's like, Chuck, I got an event. Yes, I know, Amy. We got married. We got time. We're gonna get there. But in, you know, there's no rush. Like, we all are old enough on this call to live in a world where there was no Amazon Prime or Spotify. and we had to wait for the song to come on the radio to hit record. Like we knew patience at one point in our life, right? And we don't have that anymore. So just remembering, this is not a race. Let's get there. We'll get there when we get there.
Yep.
Okay. And Rebecca, you're new, so maybe I haven't pissed you off yet. So has there been, have you had a, oh crap, this is hard, I'm gonna quit moment? I'm just curious.
I've been sitting here the whole time trying to think of one because I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I've been around quite long enough yet, but I also maybe just little things like we've had some big longer vacations and where there's a lot of influence of other families doing like members doing different things and like, oh, I'm just, gonna completely fall off. Or just big events in the family that have been tough to get through. So I think more moments like that, but I don't think fully quitting yet. But I guess it could come.
Yeah. I would say you were on vacation for 3 weeks. So because you were in Alaska, you were down in the States for about 2-3 weeks, and you were nervous about all the events and all the families. And we kind of just said, hey, focus on protein, get your water in, be open with why you're doing what you're doing. Enjoy the special foods, like if it's grandma's pudding, like that you only get, enjoy it. But if it's Costco pie, like you can get that up in Alaska. Don't worry about it. And I think you were nervous going into it, but I think you really ended up enjoying all aspects of it. We got a lot of compliments too, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, last question, and so this is the last thing. It's your last chance to talk. And if you have any more questions, drop them in the chat. But I want to. What is one tip you want to share with Team FOS, with the group, about something that's helped you on your journey, or if you got one thing to share, like, hey, this is what's helped me, or hey, make sure we do this, or words of encouragement, share it. And then share, to make sure you answer Jennifer's question, give your brief tip on, hey, how did you go from hitting just calories and protein to, because I think all 4 of you on this call get 4 macros across the board most days now. We're close, but most days we get it. So how did you make that jump from hitting calories and protein to getting carbs and fats? So first, repeat, number one tip you want to share, and then how do we get our check marks? Any tips for getting those check marks? Okay. We'll go, who hasn't gone first yet? Amy, you haven't gone first yet. You have to go first this time.
Okay. All I have to say is trust the process, trust in yourself. I mean, you owe it to yourself. That's really what you do. You owe it to yourself. How do I hit my 4 check marks? I struggle with fats. If anything, I struggle with my fats, and I pre-track. And I meal prep every Sunday, no matter what. And I crush the monotony, because let me tell you, that has been the key. Don't make anything harder for yourself, especially with recipes, because I did it in the past and it got me nowhere. And that's where you end up with frustrations. So crush the monotony and pre-track. Those are my 2 biggest things. And actually, I am 4 grams away from hitting my fat today, but I'm not going to hit it. And that's okay, because it's still within 10% of that goal, says Chuck.
There we go. Yeah. And so what you're saying there, if we can get within, hit calories and protein, but if you can be within 10% of carbs or fats, that's pretty good, guys. I mean, like, we're starting to really major in the minor if we're going to live or die off of our check marks. There are some people that have to, because that's just the way their body is. It's that finicky, but for most of us, we can get pretty freaking close. We get to go. So thank you, Amy. Devin, you're up, brother. What is your number one tip, and what is your secret for getting those check marks?
Chuck, can you come back to me?
Yeah, I'll come back to you. Go be a dad. Okay. We'll go with Rebecca, AK Strong. What do you got?
Yeah, I would say just when you're first starting out, since I still am towards the beginning, just taking one thing at a time and not trying to accomplish everything at the same point, and just give yourself time to figure things out. And then along with that, the community on Facebook is just a huge blessing. There's just so much information. And I think I haven't posted tons, but I'm observing still, but there's just so much to take in from there. So I think getting those questions answered there is a really good place to be. And then as far as my hitting all 4 check marks, yeah, it's still work in progress for me. I will have some really good times, and to go along with what Amy was saying, it's when I pre-track. When I pre-track, then I'm way more likely to hit all 4. If I don't, then I'm usually missing carbs or fats. But again, I've done a lot of yogurt the last 4 months, a lot of cottage cheese, a lot of my protein powder, like just yeah, those basics. So I guess same thing that Amy's saying, those would be my go-tos as well.
Yeah. And one thing I'll add to that is, guys, like there's mastering the monotony. And I think it's remembering finding that balance of 90-10. Like if we're 90% of the year doing the same things most days, but we feel good 90% of the year, like that's what we got to remember. 10% of your year is still 37 days. That is still plenty of time for you to have a week vacation where maybe we emphasize protein and water and have desserts. That is plenty of time to enjoy Thanksgiving and 4th of July and Christmas and confirmations or whatever events we have going on. But I think where we get stuck is every single thing is tied to food. Every celebration, we have food and drinks and alcohol. And also, society tells us when we're having a bad day, well, guess what? You deserve X, Y, and Z. And so it's just all around us. And then everyone else, like we're the abnormality, right? We're healthy. We're working to be healthy. So we're uncommon, right? We're not normal. And we see everyone else coming around us. I had a tough conversation. I didn't have a tough conversation, but someone told me, someone who had a lot of success, lost a lot of weight, and just has put most of it back on. And this person shared with me, they were able to pinpoint the exact moment they stopped like pushing themselves was when someone said, you're getting too skinny. And I told this person, I said, like, hey, here's your height, here's your weight. You were well within that range. You were on the higher end of that range. And I said, who was saying you're being skinny? Was this a fit individual, a healthy individual, someone who takes care of themselves? Or is this someone who was overweight and unhealthy and you're too little for them? Right? So this is where it comes back to be unapologetically you. Like, how can you eat the same things for breakfast every day? How can you have the same drink at Starbucks every day? How can you have a beer every night? Right? Like we do the same things every day, but we're just doing it in a way, we're better than them way. We're doing things for us, and being okay with that is huge. That's where be unapologetically you comes from, is be okay with that. But don't be afraid to enjoy your vacations or enjoy a couple days out of the month. It just cannot be every weekend and then we expect results. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Dev, you want to go quick? You back? We'll get you in before the kid runs off.
No, it's getting to be bowling time, bedtime in the household. So everyone was getting their transition upstairs. No, biggest thing when it's come to you hear her in the background?
Yeah, we do.
All right. Biggest thing was, I'll be right up, Emmeline. Biggest thing was finding recipes that work for me. I, for the longest time, was just going day by day, trying to find recipes that worked great for me. And eventually I got to the point where, the prep just became too much. And I got down on myself because I wasn't eating the proper foods. But now I joined Instagram and literally am following, if any of you are on Instagram, Stealth Health Life has a lot of great stuff. There's other people there, and all the recipes that Chuck shares out in Team FOS are fantastic too. Hey, sneaky, amazing breakfast in the morning for all you coffee drinkers. If you get the level one first form protein, it goes perfect in your coffee. Shake it up, it's fantastic. That's my every single morning go-to. And then just honestly, biggest thing is in meal prep. And then, because like right now I have my last meal prep day, got a membership at Costco and made about a month's worth of chicken, sweet potatoes and green beans. And then I have another breakfast burrito that I make that just making sure it fits in, and I leave enough calories every single night that I'm able to enjoy what my family has, and I'm always within that 10%. So just prepping to be able to do the best I can to hit all my marks here.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. So recapping so far, and then Chelsea, you got to go too, right? I can't remember if Chelsea or Rebecca went. Chelsea, you got to go still, right? Okay, cool. So we're going to be in a second. So guys, what you're hearing is find a day to meal prep for you, and understand you might need to find your day. Keep it simple. Like start with you just proteins, carbs, fats. Find simple recipes. Any recipe I post in the group, know that Chuck doesn't like elaborate recipes. So it's going to be something that is meant to be quick and effective and delicious. I'm not going to post anything. And one thing I do want to point out that Devin said that I made this mistake for years is eat with your family. Okay, next week in Team FOS, we're talking about how do we live a healthy lifestyle with our kids, right? And the mistake I made for years is dad ate this and the rest of the family ate this. How do we teach our kids what to do if we're eating separate foods? But then also, like, I don't ever want you to feel like you can't be with your family. That is never my intent. So I love what Devin said. I got, we're having these foods here, but I'm saving room to have meals with my family. Thanks for sharing, man. All right, Chelsea, bring us home.
Ooh, yeah, number one tip is just like everyone else, meal prep. I mean, if you plan things out, and it's just easier to hit your protein, your calories, your carbs, and your fats. If you meal prep, you have those things regularly. Chuck, you'd always shared about, kind of eat the same thing for breakfast and lunch and then switch it up with dinner. And I've always kind of adopted that. I have 2 or 3 things that, like I'll kind of switch out for lunch and dinner. But yeah, I mean, meal prep is the number one thing, and then pre-tracking food in order to get all of your check marks across the board. And, sometimes it's as simple as playing with a little bit of a serving size on certain things. I struggle to hit my fats because I'm pretty low on carbs and my fats are a little bit higher. So, I mean, it's as simple as I put coconut oil in my coffee in the morning, to boost that healthy fat that I get. So just finding little bitty tweaks here and there that again can help you either get your check marks or get within that 10% upper, above or below. So, because carbs are my first thing that I'm like, see ya. They go first.
Yeah. And that's just something we have to specifically do for Chelsea and with her situation. But what I do want to point out, what she said there is, guys, with pre-tracking, it's not just entering your food in, it's adjusting the portion sizes. It's like, oh, I need more of this. I need less of this. Sometimes I need to remove this, right? And that's what pre-tracking does. It's not just putting on my food and go, oh, it's good enough. It's like, well, if we didn't hit our numbers, we're not learning what we actually need to do. If we're not making adjustments, we're not actually taking that next step to learn. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this makes you feel better about a lot of things you struggle with. You're like, okay, I am normal. Cool. Hopefully this inspired you to keep going, and that you understand it's okay to struggle. And thank you all for being here. Thank you, Chelsea and Amy and Devin and Rebecca, for sharing your stories. I really appreciate that. And guys, if I want to emphasize this, is Team FOS is a community. It's your community. And that if you are struggling, or if you do have questions, you have 530 people in there, and 200 of you are working with me in the app, and I coach you all the same things, right? And so some of you that have been with me for a while, if you can ask that group, and you're probably gonna get some pretty legit answers. And if they're wrong, I'll kick them out. I won't kick them out. I'm kidding. All right. I'm gonna let you go. I really appreciate you sticking around. I know this is a longer call, but hope you had a good time. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thanks, guys, for participating.
Bye, guys.
Bye.